Oh, happy Sunday.
Happy Sunday.
Yeah. What's the week been like for you?
Woo! Weird, amazing, weird. Okay, I want to start. I'll start off with like a weird, surprising event.
Ooh, I'm excited. Do tell.
This is totally random. So I think I mentioned I've been getting the sourdough bread baking, and I made some focaccia, which was the best thing I've probably ever made. Like I ate it. I was like, this is the best thing I've ever made. And I shared it at a friend who it was her birthday, and I gave her some also, and she's like, this is the best bread I've ever had. So I was like, okay, this is good. And with focaccia, you use a lot of olive oil, and um, and so Alethea and I had just finished eating, and I was sitting giving her like a foot massage, and I just started to smell some oil, and it was like a little bit rancid. I thought, okay, maybe the oven is still on, and then and maybe some olive oil had spilled off, and it was like burning or something, or going rancid like in the oven, or I don't know what. So I just started like sniffing around, and then I didn't really tell Alethea what was going on, what I was smelling, and I went back and I started smelling her feet. I was like, why are you smelling my feet? I was like, oh, I'm just smelling something weird, and she's like, it's my feet, isn't it? I was like, no, it's not your feet. And I just kept like making a bigger circle of like kind of honing in on where the smell was coming from, which I thought was maybe rancid olive oil from the focaccia or something. And I went outside. I thought maybe it's coming in from outside, and I went all around the house. There was nothing. And then using my nose location, and also Alethea started smelling it too. We were like coughing a little bit. Our eyes were like watering. We went into the bedroom, and there was a plastic trash bag with some of Alethea's massage sheets, and I looked inside of it, and I was like, uh, I was pushed back in shock by the odor that was coming out of it, and I noticed there was like a little bit of smoke. And so I immediately took the bag outside, and I thought, well, maybe there's like a battery that got stuck in there in the washer, maybe like some phone battery or something like that, and it was going bad. And I just noticed it was smoking, so we have this fire pit, and I took it out of the fire pit, and we took the I took the bags out of the plastic bag. They were spontaneously combusting.
What?
Yeah. Her massage sheets were spontaneously combusting.
What? What
Yeah.
are they
So
made of?
they were like basically on fire.
What? Okay, hold on a second. From someone who does, acupuncture, and I burn moxa, and I use primarily cotton sheets, but I do have some blends. And I mean, if I haven't caught my sheets on fire, but that is
What
wild.
happened
So
was
what?
about 3 weeks ago, she switched to grapeseed oil for her massage. She used to use coconut oil, and she switched to grapeseed. And what happens is, like, if you're familiar with woodwork, it's a lot more common in woodworkers for these fast drying oils. But if you're finishing some wood with linseed oil, and then you leave a rag, like a wet rag, like
Yes.
bunched up, as the oil dries and oxidizes, it will generate heat, and those rags can catch on fire. Well, the same thing happened with the grapeseed oil. So,
Unbelievable.
so she had some grapeseed oil in the seats after her massage, and they were sitting in the bag there, and it started to oxidize and generate heat, and literally caught the sheets on fire.
That is so wild. And what I love that you start with this, because it is such a good reminder that none of us should be using seed oils. I mean,
Even
literally,
for
like,
massage, yeah.
this week, I have been talking to so many patients about seed oils, like everybody who came through the door. And I do all this bioresonance feedback testing. So it's like quantum physics. I mean, basically, it's like giving somebody a physical, except in the quantum realm. And so we use, the body's intuition to inform what the body does and does not resonate with.
Yeah.
And I'm telling you, like, I maybe 5% of the people that come through my office and who I test are okay with seed oils.
Wow.
Like, humans should not be interacting with seed oils. And it's like, even to the point that, I make skincare as well. And I'm looking at all these different oils I use. And there are two products that have grapeseed oil in it because it's supposed to actually, help with preservation and to some degree. But man, I'm pulling every seed oil out of my life, except
Yeah,
for
I mean,
castor seed oil, because that is amazing.
if this stuff is oxidizing and spontaneously combusting, it's probably not good for our body.
What's it doing inside of us, right? I mean, and that's where like you're not supposed to heat any seed oils because of the toxicity and the carcinogenic effect. The fact that your massage sheets are spontaneously combusting, I mean, that's wild. Thank you for sharing that. That's that's amazing for the human to hear, just for our health purposes. That's
It's on
wild.
our Instagram if you want to see the actual like smoldering sheets and our reactions.
That is incredible. Gosh, that's wild. I've never used grapeseed oil working on bodies before, so it's
Well,
never
don't start.
not going to start now. That's crazy. Well, it's interesting because this week also I recommended for a couple. I work with quite a few cancer patients, and I was talking about the importance of castor seed oil and doing these castor oil packs for detoxification, and
Yeah,
how potent it is when. I've got a couple of people that I work with who have liver cancer currently.
yeah.
And to put the castor oil over the liver, and then you would either put saran wrap or you would take a damp washcloth and then a heating pad on top.
Oh wow.
And it has a drawing effect. But for people who have swelling, like it works really great for any kind of like knee swelling, or those cysts, the Baker's cysts that people get in the back of the knee. Castor oil is like a miracle. So,
Wow.
I mean, it is a total remedy for a lot of medical conditions.
When
Bloating.
I went to India, I had some naturopathic doctors recommend that I take castor oil regularly to sort of cleanse of the heavy metals in the pollution in the air. So I was taking that regularly, like internal. Yeah,
Yeah, it's when I did years ago, I did the gallbladder flush,
yeah,
which I don't recommend because it can be quite dangerous for people who do have calcified gallstones, which unknowingly most of the time people would have. You don't have
yeah,
symptoms until there's a problem, right?
yeah.
But when I did this flush, I did it. There was a big group of us in LA when we were all studying Chinese medicine, and we would do, let's all do the raw diet. Let's all do a 10-day master cleanse,
Yeah.
let's all do the gallbladder flush. And so leading up to it, you're supposed to do like a week of broth and vegetables, like keep it really light and easy. And then leading up to the day of cleanse, the 48 hours before, you're doing all kinds of crazy things. Like you're drinking Epsom salts,
Yeah.
which, yeah, good luck if you have anything scheduled because you are going
Yeah.
to be spending the next couple hours in the bathroom, in, out, in, out. And then right before you actually commit to the cleanse, the process of the release of the stones in the gallbladder, you drink castor oil and
Yeah.
lemon juice. You could do olive oil as well. I actually did a blend of olive oil, castor oil, and lemon juice. And it was like a tricolor, because they don't mix very well.
Yeah.
Chugging that, the texture of that alone was so disgusting.
Yeah.
But I'll be damned. I mean, Subhraag, I released, no kidding. I had like over 50 stones that looked like overcooked peas that started coming out of my body at 1 in the morning. So I drank this concoction at 10 p.m. By 1 in the morning, I had filled the toilet with like a bag of peas. It was crazy how efficient it is. So it
I've
really
I've done that. I've done that one too. I think it was like I did like the same thing, but it was like grape juice and olive oil or something.
interesting. Grape juice. I've never heard of that, but
No, not grape juice. I'm sorry, grapefruit juice.
yeah,
Grapefruit juice.
the acidity, exactly.
Yeah.
That would work too.
Is that? I mean, because I've read varying like analyses of what those things are, and some I don't remember. It was a while ago, but I've heard some doctors say that that's not real. Like it's just doing some weird chemical reaction thing, and it's not really cleansing anything. Do you have any idea like what's actually happening there?
So I believe it's fat. And I think it's like the accumulation of, I mean, well, that's essentially what the gallbladder's role is, right? I
Okay.
mean, it stores the bile that breaks fat down in the body.
Yeah.
So all I can tell you is, I mean, for me, the clarity that I had after doing that cleanse, and I'd actually had quite a lot of bloating. I was having a lot of GI issues that were unexplained. And so everything went away. So I know I've read a lot of the, counter um, a lot of doctors love to say that doesn't work, but I'm telling you from my
Yeah.
personal experience, my bloating went away, my
Yeah.
GI issues went away, my food cravings went away. I processed my food differently, and the mental clarity that I had after that, it was unbelievable. But I'll tell you, 4 women in my family have had their gallbladder removed. So I knew that like I needed, this is something that, and I'd been eating so much crap. I wasn't healthy at the time. So I'm sure it cleaned something out of my body. I felt like a
I
million
think
bucks.
at the end of the year of the snake, we're shedding. I'm feeling also like it would be good to do like a end of the year of the snake into the fire horse cleanse thing.
Yes, right? Shedding. I just finished a 21-day group detox for
Oh,
heavy metals and parasites, and it felt so good. It's a great way to start the year, but it's great to do anytime.
yeah.
And I mean, you can do anything for 21 days, but it
Yeah.
is
Looking really
really
clear. Look great.
I feel good. I feel really good. You remove lectins from your diet, which nightshades primarily, gluten, sugar, processed foods. And then you take a lot of supplements that facilitate with liver detox, colon cleansing. It's not aggressive, you know. It's amazing how little effort you need to make to actually clean it up. It's removing the toxins, right? So as we're moving into the year of the fire horse, I know that in our message, our group chat, you've been saying that you've been taking riding lessons.
Yeah. What a better way to enter the fire horse than to start to ride. It's
So
amazing.
you didn't have any experience riding in the past, did you?
Not really. I always had this feeling that I wanted to develop relationships with horses before like jumping on their back, because so many people, they just want to like, I want to ride, and they rode when they were kids, or they were on some sort of like tourist horse thing where the horses are trained to like go on this path, and they think, oh, I can ride, it's so easy. And you look at people riding and it's like, it looks, oh, you just get on and you just ride. And I always had this feeling that I don't want to just treat a horse like a machine or a vehicle or a car that I just get on. Like I want to sort of, my nerves and my connection and spirit connection with the horses to sort of evolve first. And I've spent ten years doing that, I guess. And finally, it just came to the point where there's the parents of one of the co-owners of the circus here are staying here for about a month and a half. And they're master riders. They trained like daily with this other master rider named Bill Beckman, who no one really knows about, but apparently he's one of the best riders ever to have lived, and they are amazing. And what's amazing about it is they ride so effortlessly that if you look at them, it'll seem like they're doing nothing. Like it seems just so natural and so effortless and so graceful until you try it yourself, and you're like, "What are they? How are they doing that?" And so I've been getting on a horse daily for the last couple of weeks, I think. And it was on February 3rd that teacher Yossi said, Subhraag, I want you to remember on this day, February 3rd, is the day that you officially became a rider. So like there was something that clicked on that day where he saw, I was like, okay, now you've begun the path of riding, which of course never ends until you die because it's such a deep learning experience that there's just it's limitless in terms of how you can learn and develop. But what he's been really helping me with is just really tuning into the the subtle nature of how you can actually be in union with a horse. I think a lot of people who don't have that subtle tuning, that subtle connection, use force, and I think a lot of horse trainers and all of that stuff get a bad rap, rightfully so, because it's more of like a kind of a fear process, like the horse is behaving because they're scared of the consequences. But I think that the way that they're training and they're riding horses, the horses really enjoy, and you can see in the faces of it and of the horses and how they're responding. And sometimes it's work. It's like a human going to the gym. It's like, I don't really want to do this, but I know it's going to be good. So, it's kind of that thing, like the human, it's like this amazing symbiotic relationship between the human, creating a space for the horse to express itself in a way that it could not do so without a human. And then it's the same thing with the horse. The horse is doing the same thing for the human, and the unity between the two is transcendent if it's done in a way that where there's a deep, connection. And I think that one of the things that I've been experiencing, which the trainers are not talking about, simply because they have not really explored the path of yoga and meditation and breath work and chi and kundalini and all those things. They're operating on a pretty much a, every time I bring up that stuff, anything that's sort of outside of the 3D, they're also always sort of like bringing it back into the framework of, well, it's just because of observation and the, the horse is feeling your movement and all that. And I think they're doing a lot of stuff that they're not currently aware of just because of their level of attention to detail. They're not aware how their consciousness and their breath and their kundalini and their interdimensional fields are connecting with the horses. But I've been practicing a lot more kundalini lately and sort of getting back into the flow of that. And yesterday, before a riding lesson, I did this Kundalini Kriya called Sat Kriya workout, which is there's like basically two exercises. One is the Sat Kriya where your hands are above your head like this, and you're going Sat Nam Sat Nam, and so it's like completely just clears the central channel and makes the nervous system just like really clear and centered, and just is a very powerful Kundalini raising um exercise. And the other one is frog poses, so it's like you're squatting and you're tilting your body upside down like this, and just was going back and forth like that. And just something inside me said I have to do this before riding today. And so yesterday I was riding and just getting into this subtle trance-like state where you literally just think of something and it happens. It's mind-blowing, where like I'm just sitting on the horse completely still, and I wanted to walk, and I just go like it's like I just like give this like minute just energy impulse to walk, and it starts walking. and then we do a lot of figure eights, and so we're going in this figure eight, and I don't even know how I'm going in the figure eight. I don't even know how I can reverse directions. It's just sort of like you think about it, and it just kind of like happens. It gets to the point, and so one time we were in a trot, and it was very like very trance like, and what I was feeling this deep connection with the heart and the breath, and I could feel like this kundalini sort of like connection from the root of my spine into the horse's heart, because like it was right above the heart, and we were like breathing and pulsating. It was like whoosh, and I just felt this thing, and all of a sudden, when horses release, they go. So we were like trotting, and it was like did like these three or four like.
Oh, I love it.
And it was the most powerful sort of all my years of doing yoga and like energetic, like almost orgasmic energy release that I've ever experienced. And it was amazing. The feeling afterwards of that was just that connection between the kundalini of the horse and the rider, and connecting like that, and just experiencing this ecstatic sort of synergy was one of the most amazing life experiences I've ever had. Completely transcendent.
Cool. Well, and you being so astute and so perceptive, and having been on this path, studying Kundalini, practicing, right? Dropping into the ritual of what it is to meditate and breathe. I look at all these jockeys that, live in this area where I live, and all these horse trainers and riders who they just aren't tuned in the way you are, and how it would level up their riding experience, because
Yeah.
they're all addicted to riding for the same reason you are, what you're experiencing. There's something that happens in the unification of human and horse when you are running across a field. And here we live in, like, it looks like the English countryside. So, and it's beautiful. And fox hunting is a big thing here. They never get the fox. It's, no human rights activist needs to worry. Don't worry. Don't ruffle your feathers. But it is truly magical. And I know exactly what you're talking about. But I think, I haven't been on a horse in so many years, and especially since this awakening path has been activated on a whole other level. I believe that's probably why it's borderline orgasmic for you, because you have awakened and attuned to all of these fine senses. And when you really drop in, you're waking up in the morning and you're practicing that Satnam breath and these subtle body movements that help align you and align your spine and align your Kundalini while you're riding. And it probably facilitates the horse as well.
Absolutely. And it's completely symbiotic, because I really feel that we're both awakening each other simultaneously.
Yes.
I don't feel like there's any like one doing more than the other. It's like the intelligences coming together is it's a, yeah, it's like a lock and a key, or it's like a yin and a yang. It's, I mean, it's just one of those things that is just, it feels like it's meant to be. And it's weird that it's, most of the things in my life that I've done, like I've consciously pursued. It's like there's this thing and I'm inspired by it and I kind of like go after it. I go out, I find the thing, I do the thing, and I create the thing. And horses are something that has been, I've never pursued at all. It's been one of those things that I've not been able to avoid, no matter, and I haven't been trying to avoid it, but it's like when I it started to happen in India a little bit, and I was sort of briefly kind of like dating, almost engaged to a Kundalini girl who was a horse rider, and it started then, and it was, and then Isabel was into horses, and it was just like I felt it, and then there was this other person that I was connected with, who was like a horse person just before I met Alethea, and it was just like I couldn't, like almost everybody that I'm connecting with has been a horse person, and I've always thought that I would, maybe when I'm 60, 65, I'd have a whole herd of horses and just, something kind of like more of a like a later stage life kind of thing. I had no idea I was going to end up at a horse ranch or a circus with 20 horses and being given this opportunity to ride with probably one of the greatest horse like riding teachers in the on the planet. I mean, this guy is he's a phenomenal rider and a phenomenal teacher, and it just like literally fell in my lap. So I'm in like explosive gratitude every day. It's like I don't know how this happens, but I'm just like I'm gonna just soak in as much as I can and just enjoy it. So
I know how it happens because you are in the flow and you know and understand how to live and breathe flow state. And when you are in that flow, that's when these incredible, the universe just opens all these opportunities. I just find the timing is so brilliant with the year of the fire horse. And, the fire horse is, as far as the Chinese astrology goes, and I don't know that much about it, but having studied Chinese medicine, I did learn quite a bit about the zodiac. And the fire horse is the most volatile of all of the zodiac signs.
wow,
So, yeah. So it's like, I mean, like chaos, but also like radical freedom.
wow,
Radical freedom. And there's something like irreversible about the energy of the fire horse. It's
yeah,
like, it's imagine like the horse just woo, like that energy that when the horse goes running and you're galloping across the field, there is no turning back. There
yeah,
is no hard stop, right? So it's like the momentum and taking charge of momentum. And when
yeah,
you think about like where we are as a collective in this like absolute chaos is really what I feel that 2026, as at least the Gregorian calendar, which I think you and I both agree is total bullshit. But I'm much more aligned with like New Year being in April, and I like that the Chinese astrology kind of warms up to my New Year being April 1st. It's like the April Fools, right? Aha, it's really New Year's, but we're gonna call it April Fool's Day. And the Chinese New Year being in February is feels a lot more like a new year to me than the
yeah,
dawn of the Gregorian calendar. But it's, this mass chaos that we're in right now, we actually need the energy of the
yeah.
horse. And if you harness the energy of the horse as a rider and as a mindful rider, then that energy of the fire horse doesn't feel so daunting. It doesn't feel so radical, right? So,
I love that because the nature of the horse. I mean, it's a beast. It's a wild beast, and they're wild. Like I go out and feed these draft horses, this herd of draft horses every day, and they're just galloping around, like snapping at each other. Just 'cause, they're just being draft like these massive draft horses, and what's amazing about it is they're so wild they could kill you at any second. I mean, just like they could bite you, they could kick you. I mean, they could if you don't pay attention, if you're not in harmony with them, they could just kill you. I mean, and but what's amazing about it is to tame the beast and to be in union with it and to let it work for not to work in synergy. It's all about relaxation and balance. And so if we settle the mind, the my trainer and he said to his trainer, he said like the number one thing that they've been working on for decades and are still working on until to the end of time basically is just the subtle balance on the horse, how you sit and how you relax,
Mm.
relaxing and balancing. And with relaxing and balancing, the wild beast is under your slightest little like kick of a thought.
Yeah.
Like you just sound like a subtle, like a breath, a little impulse, like a little. The wild beast will gracefully move in harmony with you. And so, and all of this chaos, all of this potentiality, all of this energy that's being stirred up, which I also agree is completely necessary for the coming transformation, we can harness it and ride it by relaxing, which is counter. When a horse gets spooked or is like speeding up, our natural intention is to clench and to like sort of like lean forward, which is exactly what makes the horse spook more and go faster.
Right.
And
Exactly.
he says, just relax and just gently lean back.
I love that. I love that. Because people, I feel like people look at riding horses like there's like a trailblazing energy to it, like, and they don't think about what it really takes to control a life force.
Yeah.
Because it's really like you're containing a life force. And in order to do that, you have to surrender. You have to maintain control of self, regulated nervous system. And that's the thing, this whole agenda that the spell we've all been under in the global elites agenda is for us to be overall completely dysregulated. You cannot ride successfully on a horse when you are dysregulated.
No, you have to be in coherence, breath coherence. And the other thing too is it's not about just I mean, the rider does sort of direct and in some sense control the horse but it's a profound relationship. So it's like this living, breathing relationship where every moment is alive. The horse is responsive to every single moment. It's not just like you set your course and go and all of a sudden you're riding.
Mhm.
It's like this constant attunement. And I'm just, I'm at the point where it's like, okay, I need 8 decades. So I'm not a master in it, but I'm having a sense of more of like what I know that I don't know, and having the initial experiences of what it's like to ride and all that stuff. But I think the thing is relaxation and relationship. It's like the breath, because I feel like right now, like in the political social sphere, it's very the other sort of feeling that I've been having lately is when you resist something, you actually become like it.
Absolutely.
I've been noticing. I just watch people's body language when they're resisting Trump, for example. I see the body language they take. It becomes very rigid and hard, and that guy, and I was like, you're just when you resist it, you're being exactly like him.
Exactly.
And
Yes. All the
so
things they hate about him, they are.
become. And
Yes.
so it's like whatever energy you give to something, like, oh, I like it, you become like it doesn't matter. If you give attention to something, you become like it.
And do you know what? All it takes is 17 seconds of holding a thought until that exact thing happens, where you start magnetizing that thing. 17 seconds. And it's
I just
amazing.
got
So
whole buddy goosebumps when you said
oh, I
that.
love that. That's
Yeah.
amazing. So I mean, every morning now I'm getting up early. I mean, you're no stranger to the practice of obviously we know that we are much more open between the hours of 3 a.m. and 5 a.m. I'm not
Yeah.
getting up at 3 a.m. I know the monks will do that. God bless them. Go monks, you're badasses. I'm not getting up at 3. But I can get up at 4, 4:35, no problem. And all I do is breathe. I was like, well, I should do yoga. I could practice, do some body movement Pilates, but no, all I want to do is breathe. And I've been working with these different breath rhythms and holding a thought for at least 17 seconds. I'm not timing myself, but when you count breath in and out, you start regulating and understanding what that time frame really is. And I can almost feel things manifesting in my body. I can feel things shifting inside of me. And it doesn't take much. So like these incredibly potent 15-minute meditations are accomplishing what the old me would need to accomplish in like 2 hours of meditating.
Yeah.
It's so amazing because when you can be that present, and horseback riding is a great way to learn and embody presence. I mean,
Yeah.
that's really what you're talking about, this with this relationship is how present can you become? And I think that if you challenge anything you do in full presence, and awareness, and then you can, if you're present, you realize, oh wow, this shit that I'm thinking is so negative, I'm going to attract more shit. Or this negativity that I'm holding, if I hold this any longer, that's exactly what's going to show up in my life. But
Yeah.
presence gives you that, it's that little messenger that's like waving the flag, SOS, SOS, quit while you're ahead, turn around quickly, reroute. And that's what I'm starting to see in my life, which is so beautiful. I think it just goes back to what you were saying, getting up in the morning and having a practice that then serves something else in later in your day. Whether it's
Yeah.
something you're trying to get better at, or work you do, or riding horses, whatever it is, but having a practice that grounds you in that mindfulness and breath. Breath is
Absolutely.
speaking.
I think I can completely relate. Like yesterday, I woke up. Yesterday was just a complete. I had all this. I'm supposed to write a patent, right? I'm just like really complex business stuff. I'm supposed to. Yesterday, I was in that mode of just wanting to be with the breath, like basically all day. And I woke up. I just was in bed. I didn't do anything. And I think what I'm moving into with my discipline, it's not even that anymore. I'm not disciplined, but like just letting these practices, whether it's Kundalini or anything that I do, come in more breath like. So as opposed to being like, I'm gonna sit up and I'm gonna be the yogi, I'm gonna do this and sit hard, it's like really just being present with what I'm feeling magnetized to, and just easing into it, even if it's really challenging, even if it's hard or mentally, physically, whatever. But just, yeah, bringing the breath into it. That was one of the things that, speaking of the architect, that was really help assisting me with in the last couple of weeks. It's very breath oriented, and it was just sensing the need to bring more breath into my awareness.
It was the greatest gift. I mean, and I didn't even realize what architect was. And it's so funny because I followed Robert Grant for years. And I have his book I bought his book like 6 years ago, the Polymath book. And he never talked about breath, which is
Yeah.
so interesting because I know, like now, when I downloaded the architect for your suggestion, and it was so fun to work with it for that little stint of time. And every single answer it offered, breath was related. And
Yeah.
it's such a great message because I think the simplicity of breathing, it's something that we all know how to do. And we've talked about this on the podcast before, but it's not that easy. It's like, babies, when they come into the world, they haven't been breathing. They've been, in a water sack, right? It's like we don't actually know how to breathe. It is counterintuitive. The human doesn't, you have to learn how to do it. And throughout life, I found that I think I probably held my breath for the first 28 years of my life. I was a shallow breather and I had raging anxiety. I wasn't present. There was so much more fear. I think I quickly resorted to fight or flight mechanics without even realizing that the answer was in the breath. And if you just pause in a moment of stress and you just bring that breath down and work with different breathing patterns, I mean, it is so simple, but I know it's hard in the beginning. It's like in the group chat we were talking about, it's so funny. Like Scott was like, it's the most simple thing, but it's the hardest freaking thing to do. And that's why I think so many people resist breath work and meditation for that matter. But the code and the key to enlightenment and to connection with the divine and our highest aspect of self really is in the breath and our ability to smooth that breath in, hold the breath, and then release the breath smoothly and hold it again. And when you start practicing that every day, I'm finding that, like, as I insert needles in people's bodies, it's moving with my breath. I put the needle in on the inhale, and then I attune the needle on the exhale. And it's like changing my acupuncture practice. It's so cool. It's amazing.
That's what I was doing with the horse too. When I was going into trot, I would just go like I wouldn't have to do anything. It was like I was like breathing it into trot. And then when I went into the walk, I went like I just went like just you can like shift the gear of something, of a whole beast by just going or
Yes.
I can complete I get when you were even just thinking that, when we were explaining with the acupuncture needle, I felt that energy. You gave me a little acupuncture
Oh,
session.
beautiful. Oh, I
It
love
was like
that.
on your acupuncture table. I was like, oh wow, that's good. I kind of went there.
I'm so glad. I mean, it's so much more powerful.
Yes.
You know, and I mean, that's the thing that imagine if we were to approach the way you have been approaching mastering riding, learning the mastery of riding a horse. And imagine if we approached everything we did from baking focaccia to making pizza dough to chopping vegetables to prepare to cook dinner, the simplest things that we do every single day. And we just integrated the mindfulness of breath, how much more
I think if
potent every action would be.
what I've been thinking about like lately is as opposed to, we're talking about opposing something that you're being like, if people think that it's irresponsible, like when I talk to them on my approach of politics and all of that stuff, it's like you're being irresponsible and like ignorant of what's going on. And I think for me it's like, yeah, the breath has been like a big theme for me in the last couple of weeks. I mean, it's always been, but as a saxophone player since I've been 11, like that's been a big thing. I think, which is why I was so attracted to it, is just to be able to go like put your breath into the sound and be, it's like a way of sharing my soul through sound. But also is just to become, if you want to become like something, give attention to that thing. And for me, what I've been thinking about lately is I have my musical imagination is very rich. And so I've been thinking, instead of like trying to resist something or not be like this, not be like this, what I've been thinking about more is just giving attention to the sound inside of me. And I want to become more like that. And so by bringing attention to something, you become like it. You start to reflect it. And it's been working with the horses too. I've just been giving more attention to the horses, and I can attune to them and learn to ride, faster than I might if it was just like I was fitting in. And so one of the things that I've been working with is I've been talking about this infinidrone, this instrument that I've been making, which is doing these drone sounds. And every time I do an iteration, I'm getting closer and closer and closer. But there's something that's been missing, and I've been trying to attune to what that is. And it's that subtle sort of like phase oscillation of the breath. So I'm trying to find ways now to just get closer and closer to that breath feeling in that drone, even though it can be steady and clear and crystalline. Still there's that subtle like breath quality to it, which I think when it's there, it merges with the human biology. Until that breath quality is there, it will always, the body will resist it a little bit. It might be good, it might be assistive, it might be helpful, but there's still going to be like this little bit of a, I've been noticing in myself, like a little bit of a clenching. It's like it's trying to go in, but it's not quite soluble yet. And so I've been today, as I was balancing my ionosphere and scooping poop of the horses, I had this whole idea come into my head about each sound. I think I'm going to require a whole DAW set, like a music session in my computer that requires all of the resources of my computer, or most of them, to create just one of the tones. Because that's the level of complexity that I want to bring to it. So I record, because the breath is it's so alive and so subtle and it's so and I think our body, our perceptive system requires a certain level of complexity in order to match it. So if I'm taking in a medium, a substance, whether it's art or music or food or anything that we're taking in, there has to be this sort of subtle level of nuanced complexity for it in order to be soluble to the system energetically, because we are subtle, we are nuanced, we're biological, breathing, coherent beings. And if the substance that we're relating with is not that, there's always going to be some kind of solubility challenge there. And I think that's what I've been noticing with the work with synthesizers and digital and all of this stuff, is it's not permeating into the biological system energetically. So I've been thinking about a lot about the breath and bringing more attention to my breath. And I was like, how do I infuse that subtle undulating complexity into the sounds that I'm sharing?
That is so fascinating. And it's so interesting listening to you because my breathing got so lovely just listening to you talk about that. And um, as you're talking, I'm thinking when I practice breath work and when I do these morning meditations, there are no two breaths that are the same.
Yeah.
You're absolutely right that the breath is so complex. Every single, even if I'm doing the 5-5, just box breathing, or if I'm doing, I've been working with the 7-7-7-7, 7 in, 7 hold, 7 out, 7 hold. And even though it's like the same number and the same cadence, every inhale still feels different. The only sound that I could think that has a complexity to it that kind of matches what you're talking about is the sound that comes from singing bowls. When you place multiple sound bowls together, there is such a different, I don't know if it's a resonance or vibration or what specifically allows for that complexity, but it's one of the reasons that I really enjoy playing them when I have people on the table
Yeah.
because there is complexity in and variation in the tones.
At the same time, it's so clear. It's like it's almost like sine wave in the sense that it's almost like it's just such a clear tone, but there's
Mm.
at the same time, it's completely permeable into
Yes.
the system. There's no resistance. You hear the sound and
Yes.
it goes right in.
Yes. Absolutely. And it's so funny because the more that we've talked a lot about music, but the more that I hear songs, and my daughter had her first high school dance. She's a freshman. My opinion, too young to be going to school dances with boys. But anyway, they want to listen to certain music, and of course, we in our household have pretty big restrictions on a lot of music.
Yeah.
And it's interesting what resistance my body, my physiology, and my psyche have developed around keeping out certain tones and certain sounds or certain musicians. And like my daughter has a friend over, and she put on the song by the Killers, and it's an earworm. It's an awful earworm, and the message is terrible. I mean, it's about cheating, and she takes off her dress now and letting it all go and whatever. And I'm like, my whole body is going, ick, oh no, and it's like this resistance that I physically, like, I almost get angry when I hear this music. Like, my body's rejecting it. Like, don't let that into my cells. I don't want that shit. It's so interesting. And I never used to be, I loved music. Like Les Claypool, Fish, it didn't matter, whatever I was listening to, it was like interesting to me. And now I am so sensitive to it. Like I'm repulsed by certain sounds and the way certain words sound in out of sync and not melodious, and it's like I just don't want it in my body because it does penetrate.
Yeah. Well, I don't put on music at all anymore. There's no music.
Yeah.
I don't have anything to listen to. The only thing that I listen to is I hate to say it, is my music.
I listen to your music. I want more of your music because it resonates with me on a cellular level.
Yeah. Have you tried that longer drone session that I sent you? Did you listen to that?
Yes, I love it. It's
Amazing. Okay, great.
amazing. It's
Okay.
fantastic. And it really helps me when I do the morning breathwork meditations, which, there are some days where I want to do the remote viewing and I want to go places and then I just want silence. And there's other times I just want a cadence. I want a rhythm. And it helps me breathe and I don't want to say lock it in, but like kind of like develop more of a pattern and an awareness around breath. I mean, you gotta put that on Spotify.
Yeah, I am gonna put it on Bandcamp. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
It's great. I mean, it really is a service to humanity. I am so grateful for your sounds.
I'm happy to hear that because there's it's with the path that I'm on. I'm going after a feeling and a sound that's inside myself, and what I've noticed over time sharing music with people is I don't really have a very good perception of, because for me, like, I know I'm constantly developing and evolving. And I'm not at the place where I know I'm sort of going to yet, just because of the time that it takes to figure out all the elements to make it work. But sometimes I've put together sounds and music that I think are amazing and are really reflective of what I'm trying to share, and then I play them for people, and then it's just not landing. And what I've realized over the time is it's because I'm interpolating what I know it's should be or going to be in my imagination, and I'm hearing it through that filter and that lens. And then when people don't have that informational framework in their mind, they're not receiving it. And so I've been just working more and more to just like slowly get more and more of what I know it could be into the actual sound itself. So when people experience it, and so with that one, I think that I'm kind of like getting there to a place where okay, that one is like worth putting out there and sharing, even though it's not fully evolved yet. It might be a good sort of stepping stone. So you're finding that it's working for you.
I love it. I played it during a session as well,
Oh,
two sessions, and it was like, I mean, it's amazing. It really, and both people completely surrendered. Like they just any tension that was in their body, they received the healing, they received the needles, they received the energy work. I was breathing differently, they were breathing differently. They completely went out of their bodies. It was profound. So, but I mean, that's the only game in town now. Like once you're on the awakening journey, it's like there's nothing else I'm interested in. It's like how can I level up? How can I expand my consciousness more? How can I get my body, my monkey suit on a cellular level, dancing with my consciousness? You know, that's all I care about. It's the only game in town.
I think that there's yeah, I think what we're really doing now is we're like Alethea has this saying she calls it frontline light workers.
Yeah, yeah. There
So
you
I literally feel like we're on the brink of this new world, and there's like we're literally trailblazing. Like there's nothing there right now. I mean, there it's starting to peek out from like different places. Like my writing teacher Yossi was like, I have to ride early today because I'm looking at the Olympics. I'm gonna watch. I have to watch this ice skater. What's his name? Ilya Malanin or something like that. I don't know if you've heard of him.
go.
And I was like, okay, interesting. I'm curious what based on his aesthetic. I'm curious what he's so curious about. And so I watched him, and I'm like, soul brother, like. And the thing that I thought that, but before even seeing him skate, I just saw his presence, his in his costume. I was like, I'm gonna write crazy interdimensional microtonal music for his ice skating. It's just like the thought that came out of my head. And the first thing that happened when he started skating, the music came on was a very non-Western, non-12 tonal sound that came out. I was like, perfect. He's already. So I think there's these from all these different angles and all these different places. There are like plants, like there's like the alien implantation in all these fields where we're not alone. Like we're starting to kind of like all kind of like come out of the word work and find each other and meet each other and create this new reality. And I think in some sense we've all had to you and I both have had to have a deep experience in how it is now with different kinds of drama and trauma and incoherent waveforms and human relationships so that we can have these bridge frequencies within us. It's like if we had no connection to how things are now and no experience with it now, we would not be able to sort of relate and create a bridge from where things are to where things are going. But I'm at the point now where I can't even like I can do it through other people. Like Alethea will put on music and which is good. She has a good taste in music. It's not like weird ass toxic shit, but still, it's not music that I would put on, but through her presence, through her enjoyment of it, I can enjoy it through her. So I can kind of experience her experience of it, like how she's hearing it. But I can't play any, I can't put on any music anymore. I just have to create the new music. That's all.
And I think what's happening too with all of us who are, and I mean I'm going to say light worker but also shadow worker because we've all blasted through the shadow work. You
Yeah.
can't really move into the light without having danced with the shadow and tamed the shadow, seen yourself in the shadow and face the shadow of the collective. And as we are rising into this new realm, this new experience, 5D consciousness, we're remembering. I mean, that's the thing. We're accessing nodes within us that have existed for aeons. This
Yeah.
isn't as new as it feels because it's new for us. It's new, in our gen, what are we, Gen Z? We haven't experienced this yet in this generational incarnation. But we have from Atlantis, Lemuria, other star systems. We're just starting to awaken this remembrance within us. But the problem is, it's like, as the matrix is glitching, I think it's starting to glitch because we are starting to like not align with it anymore. Because the matrix is a container that everything within the matrix is jarring to me now.
Yeah.
Music, movies, like we literally are like, what the fuck are we gonna watch? Like, there's nothing that we want to watch anymore. Like, we love Merlin, there's a couple things like I'm down to watch the Olympics, I'm always down to watch really good performers who are really good at what they do. Um, but for the most part, I'm like, it's junk. Hollywood is junk. And then knowing with the Epstein files dropping, which I've known for 15 years about all these pedophile slaves to their whatever satanic god that they're worshiping, it's just makes it intolerable to even bear witness to, and I'm not going to let my kids witness this stuff. So it makes it, almost like the only choice we have is to be present. And, even reading books, I'm finding it harder to read anything that doesn't have something to do with the Nag Hammadi or Gnostic text or the Ethiopian Bible or Chinese medicine, like things that are going to better me as in my practice, in my life. But it's just everything in the matrix doesn't feel good anymore.
Nothing fits. Yeah, it's weird.
Nothing fits. I mean, even and like clothes. And it's so funny because even Sam was like, he comes out this morning talking about nothing fits. And he's like an orangutan like me. We've got really long arms. But so his arm, whatever he like things go through the dryer, it'll tend to shrink. But he's like, I have literally worn this shirt for years. And all of a sudden it shrinks 2.5 inches. Like,
I've experienced the same thing.
what?
What is going on? I
What?
have shirts that I was, again, the same thing. It was like normal shirt, and now it's like it doesn't fit me anymore. Like it doesn't go down to my waist.
So weird. And we're not talking about like waistline where we're like, okay, maybe we've like gotten a little more svelte with all of our
No.
detox and cleansing. It's the arm length. I'm pretty confident that our arms aren't getting longer. Like,
My,
and
my same thing happened with me.
so we
I
were
was
both
seeing all
like,
my shirts. I was like, nothing fits anymore.
it's so weird. And this has been like, I was like, I'm sick of you buying clothes. You're not buying clothes anymore because none of your clothes are fitting anymore. Like, and he's like, I don't understand how this is happening. Like, things that
But the thing is, also, I go to
so
stores, and I even go to the highest. I go to all stores, and I look at the clothes. Like, I don't want to wear any of this stuff. I
it's what
can't wear.
nothing.
I have these pants now. These that I got from the what's that Japanese sort of department store thing, I forget. And it's like the only pair of pants that I can wear. They're cotton and
So
they fit me, and it's like they're falling apart and they look. But it's the only like I don't even want to shop.
I don't either. And it's so funny because I mean, Sam was like, what do you want for your birthday? And I'm like, nothing that you can buy. I'm like, I don't want anything. Like, nothing fits me. And it's energetic too. Like, and I've gone through my closet and I'm like, it's so easy to get rid of stuff. All I want is my oversized linen. Like, I love this is like cotton, I'm wearing everything is linen, cotton, wool, cashmere, but it's like, it's so strange because I feel that I am morphing out of the matrix. And I think that's what we're doing. And those of us who are really consciously aligned with the 5D energetics, the 5D consciousness, nothing fits. Even food. Like we go to the grocery store and Sam and I are literally like, what are we going to buy?
Yeah,
Like, and there's
even the
so
fruits
much.
and vegetables don't feel right anymore. Like,
Thank you. Like
yeah,
salad is creepy and weird to me. There is something off with lettuce. And like
yeah.
I've gone on TikTok and looked at videos just to see like, am I losing my fucking mind again? Like, why do I love salad. Like I love making
I've been
salad
doing the
dressing.
same thing. I like this. We get the salad, and I was like it's organic, whatever. It's like, I don't want to eat this.
No, like
Like,
it's
I
like,
don't want to eat it
so,
anymore.
but the videos that I saw on TikTok, like somebody like opened one of those like Earthbound or whatever. This is
Yeah.
like organic from like Mom's Market here in Baltimore, and you open it up and like they try to feed it to his cow. His cow jumps and runs to the other end of its pen. Like the
Wow.
cow won't eat this shit. What
Wow.
is it? And so then we're looking into like, so I guess they're irradiating our food now. And
Oh.
I don't know if that radiation is doing something that's changing the frequency of it, that animals won't eat the food. That's so weird to me.
I don't. I literally like the only thing I've been eating right. I've been making sourdough bread.
Yeah.
So basically, what I noticed, what came to me during a yoga session, I was like, just I was meditating on the yeast. The yeast, I think it's my theory, and it feels deeply. The yeast is when I'm making it, I'm connecting with the consciousness. It is generating the chemicals and the chemical structures and the vibrational and like the way that I wrap the dough and the gluten and all of this stuff. Like I can create my own sort of like vibrational matrix through this stuff. It's almost the only thing that I feel attracted to eating right now. It's really weird.
Okay, so I'm so happy to hear you say this. And it's so funny because I keep thinking like, wow, the German in me is really getting reactivated, like the Nordic, because bread, they live on bread, butter, cheese. And it's so funny because from a, holistic health standpoint, like these are things that most people come into me saying, I'm doing a really good job avoiding gluten and I'm
I
not
know.
eating dairy. And now I'm like, no, that's actually the only thing.
I'm so
And
it's the
I'm
only,
like,
I'm making like sourdough focaccia, sourdough bread. I'm thinking of making sourdough bread. It's like the only thing I could eat.
it's so
My
weird. I feel the same
my
way.
body, my belly likes it too. It's not like I'm like
Yes.
oh like bread belly. It's like
No.
it's like I feel like this aliveness. It's like ooh,
Yes.
I like that.
My body loves it. I'm like I'm skinny. Everything feels comfortable. Like there's no inflammation. But
Yeah,
it's like I mean we eat avocado,
yeah,
a lot of ghee. We do,
yeah. That's
love
my
ghee.
diet. I've been eating
And then sourdough bread,
ghee,
doing
avocado, honey.
blueberries, honey, a ton of honey.
Yeah.
We have a honey collection on our counter. I love it. And I feel like it's like my DNA is saying thank you.
Absolutely.
And
That's
then
amazing that we're coming to these same conclusions. We haven't even talked.
and
Because
wild blueberries.
all these health people, there's
Yep.
all these friends, all these books that I've read of all the stuff I'm supposed to do. I'm eating sourdough bread, ghee, honey,
Yep.
avocados,
Yes. And wild blueberries
wild blueberries.
and
Exactly.
canned sardines. I don't know if you're there yet, but yeah, and I mean, part of this because
I'm vegetarian, so I just kind of
yeah,
not gravitate towards that, but I
that's
get
good.
it. Yeah.
That's all like for me, like the protein. And then I found this new protein powder made by this gal Be Well by Kelly, and it is one ingredient, the chacho bean. And so literally there's nothing else. So in the morning smoothies, I put in frozen banana, frozen
Yeah.
wild blueberries, this Be Well by Kelly chacho bean protein powder, which is plant-based, honey, and
Yeah.
then I feel so alive and good. I will do nut butters, but I have to like when I'm shopping, I have to like really tune in to the resonance of the brand because it
Yeah.
ain't Jiffy, I'll tell you that much. But nuts were kind of weird to me too. I stopped feeling good. Like I can't buy nuts at Costco anymore. Like there's something off with
Yeah.
almost everything that's grown in California.
Yeah.
I don't, if it's from like the Driscolls, forget it. Like, I'm not doing any hothouse grown anything. I don't want the hydroponics.
Yeah.
It's so funny that you feel the same way. Like, and I'm fine living off this stuff. Like, I don't need my diet to be too much richer than those foods we're talking about.
I'm glad that you're reflecting that too, because I was like, am I going crazy? Like, why? And what's interesting too is because I just felt this like overwhelming, uncontrollable urge to learn how to bake sourdough bread.
Yep.
And
I'm
I've had
getting
this,
it too.
I have this starter that I got on Amazon. It's a 700-year-old Swiss starter. So I tried to make my own starter. It was disastrous.
Yeah.
But the Swiss starter is like I can feel it. Like I can feel the nutrients. The yeast is like it's like tickling my energetic like pathways. I don't know. It's like having this party. It's like and because like when I wake up and I see the sourdough waking and it's just like playing with this dough and playing around and like stretching it and all this stuff and putting and then it's and then what's great about it is to share it with people too. So like the share people like I made this focaccia for I think I mentioned earlier, and I gave it to my friend, his brother. She's like, "This is the best bird I've ever had."
Amazing. What a
Wow.
gift. But you're like, even just listening to you, I feel like all my senses are tickled. I feel so activated. I feel giddy and
Yeast. It's the yeast.
silly and
I'm
misty.
channeling the yeast. Channeling these like these like fun yeast party like they're like where yeah.
That is hysterical. But I mean, isn't that wild? Like this is this is life. Like enzymes are life. Do you know that there are 2,000 enzymes that are required for life to assemble? 2,000 enzymes. It's crazy. And I just read this in one of the new books I got. I can't remember which one. I just for my birthday I bought myself 5 new books. I'm so excited. And of course, being the ADD Aquarian that I am, I have to read all 5 of them at the same fucking time. So I have, little bits on every book, but I just read this because I was so excited about like just just all these little simplicities around me and like the little details and how excited I get about the little things like yeast, being tickled listening to you talking about yeast tickling your senses. And and so I've in this book that I read yesterday, just this little section, the 2,000 enzymes that are required to assemble life, and that the chances of our life being assembled at random by those 2,000 enzymes in the order that they need to be assembled and to create us is a 1 in 1 with 40,000 zeros chance. Yeah. What? So do you think any of this is random?
No.
Absolutely not. Like, not at all. And when you make something like sourdough bread, there is nothing random about it. It is a science,
Yeah.
right? And as you've played around with it, like we failed monumentally in our initiation of making bread. And I think it is so humbling in the reminder of the miracle of life, of the miracle of chemistry, right?
It's been one of the most spiritual experiences that I've had lately, just sort of like tuning into the yeast and the dough and how it all works and trying to listen to all these different people talk about it and all, they get a little tip here, a little bit tip, but then I just like make it my own sort of attunement process. And yeah, and when you talk about enzymes, like the whole thing is this sort of like this tradition that's been passed down through year after year after year, like decades or centuries, and it's all about enzymatic development.
Yes.
And so now, like, bread's getting a bad rap, but you have the glyphosate stuff that you put the yeast in, it raises for 30 minutes, you put it in there and you put it out and you give it to people. But there's this whole intricate process of weaving energetics. It's the love that you put into it, the yeast. I think I'm almost certain if we had scientific tools to study it or whatever, I'm almost certain that the yeast is making nutrients specifically geared towards me and whoever's attention that I'm putting on. So if I'm thinking about Alethea or my friends that I want to make it for, they're customizing. I could be crazy. It's just my intuitive gut feel. They're customizing their nutrients and how they're bubbling and reacting and formulating things specifically for those people.
Yes, I love that. And I totally agree with you. And I mean, like, this is why also, like, you people who have super, super like dirty houses tend to
Yeah.
make the best bread
Yeah.
because I mean, it's all the microbes in the air. It's all the bacteria. It's all those things floating around, right?
Yeah.
That make it what it is, that inform the energetics, the
Yeah.
frequency, the wisdom. And then we consume that and it gives us life.
Yeah.
It's so beautiful.
And that's what's nice about like the ranch life here. I feel like the people, like we have this really nice balance. I feel like everybody here is like between like chaos and order. So it's
Yes.
total chaos. There's dirt, there's mess, there's tools everywhere, but it never gets so out of control that it's like out of order or dysfunctional. And one of the master writer, Noel, the master writer who's here right now, she said the way you can tell a good writer, like a mediocre writer from a great writer, is how clean the stall is. The mediocre writer will have a perfectly clean stall, and the master writer will not have a clean stall at all. It'll just be like barely hanging on.
That's so interesting.
Yeah.
I was so afraid of riding horses as a kid. I don't really know why, but I had a lot of fear as a child. And a perfect childhood at that, so it's very strange to me. And this, I was a master stall cleaner.
Yeah.
That stall, my horse's stall, my pony stall was immaculate. And it's so funny. And my dad's not at all.
Yeah.
So isn't that interesting? Yeah. Oh, so interesting. Ah.
I've been watching in the background your Northern Lights thing, and I feel like that's a perfect representation of what we're moving into. consciously in terms of movement and color and breath and aesthetic, and that time when all the northern lights were just like appearing everywhere where they don't normally appear. I felt that was really symbolic of the coming of the new light, the new sound, the new way of being. Because as I'm watching you this whole time, I'm just sort of like undulating with these sounds and these colors, and like that, yes, that is what I crave. You know.
Yes. And it is, and that's the symbiosis that you're talking about of writing and integrating the breath with the movement. I mean, that this has been my background for all my Zoom calls. I'm like, I'm just sticking with it because I mean, and it's funny how, I mean, I just turned 47 and my entire life, like, and I've traveled all over the world, right? And I've been to Norway, the farthest part to see the Aurora Borealis multiple times, and I've never seen it until 2 years ago when we had it here. And then this year, I've seen it twice in Maryland, which is wild. So, what that tells us is the sun's activity and the plasma and the way the photonic energy is coming at us, entering our atmosphere on this planet. It's bringing codes of awakening. Yeah, I mean, photons, everything in this universe is photons and frequency. And
Yeah.
so if we're receiving these light codes, as far south as North Carolina, just a couple weeks ago, they saw the Aurora Borealis in North Carolina.
It was here
Which is,
too in Vegas.
oh, you saw it in Vegas?
I didn't see it, but I had friends who saw it. They took pictures. I think you had to have like a longer exposure of the camera or something like that to really see it, to let the light soak in. But you could there. I had friends who were taking pictures of it here.
So that just tells us so much is changing in our favor. We're bringing in the light. And I mean, I feel it like as an avid meditator, I've been trying to meditate since I was like 16 years old and I learned about the concept of meditation. I sucked at it, of course. And then I was discouraged and self discouraging because I was like, I'm terrible at this. I'm not going to do it. Right. Which is why a lot of people stop because they think they suck at it. They also don't understand that it's bearing witness. It's not about stopping your thoughts, but as someone who's practiced meditation and been discouraged for years thinking I was terrible at it, and now I can drop into meditation like that. And for someone who is ding, 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 mentally, I'm very quick thinking all over the place like a ping pong ball or a, pinball, whatever. It's amazing how effortless it has become for me. And I do not give myself a lick of credit. I could say it's the Holy Spirit moving through me, but I really think it's the light codes coming in. I really think it's the frequencies and the activations that are happening within all of us. And the more you consciously align with these activations, the more we are actually unlocking aspects of our DNA. And if we do have multiple strands of dormant DNA, let's say 10 dormant strands, which I've come to believe is highly likely. And if we are mindfully drinking in this light, drinking in these frequencies, asking our body to become more absorbent and receptive, then we are activating this memory that will help us remember these different tones and different sounds and how to make the music what you hear it inside of you,
Yeah.
right? And so
Amazing.
I feel like this is happening to all of us, but there's only a handful I feel in my life who are really using it and tapping into it consciously with effort, like charge me up, right?
There's with every movement, there's sort of there's like the innovators or the leaders, then there's the early adopters, and then slowly it becomes a massive following. And also, I noticed you're talking about at the beginning, it was sort of crude and hard. These things like with one of the things that I was thinking of yesterday when I mentioned I was like sitting in bed and just like absorbing and digesting things is I was imagining silicon, you know, how maybe the material was first discovered. It was mined or wherever they get it, and then someone discovered that it has like this conductive property that they don't find anywhere else, and then someone discovered, I can make a transistor out of it, and there's like the process from crude to refinement, and most people will only that will only permeate at a point of a certain level of high refinement. So now we're all taking in this concept of the transistors and the silicon through our phones. Like everybody's using it in the technologies, but very rare are the people who actually see the potentiality of it in its crude or raw state. And so I think that's it's kind of a lonely journey at this point. Is at this point we're at the brink where what's happening no longer works. We don't know exactly what's coming forward. We have a sense of what it's going to feel like, and there's a few rare people who are holding the space for this new thing, and it's just a matter of just staying persistent with it, keep continuing to refine and iterate and experiment, kind of having a sense of where it's going, and just to allow it to hold the space for it to shape and to all these things. And I do feel that grace, the divine codes are a lot more present now. And I think consciousness requires that because of all the distractions. Where it used to be, for consciousness development, it would require 2.5, 3, 4 hours of meditation a day. And I think now we can. There's a sort of because of the distraction and all of that was required for us the outside. There's a reciprocal grace where we don't need as much of the internal attention as we might have in earlier days when there's cave yogis and all that stuff. We can get a lot faster, a lot with a lot less effort.
Absolutely. And it's funny because when Scott had mentioned that he's like, maybe I should just, I'm feeling this calling to like move to a cave and just work on my breath and master my breath. And it's funny because I mean, I've felt that periodically throughout my life many times and made that same statement. But now I don't feel that anymore. I feel like we are able to access things at a much more rapid rate. And that's also equally concerning in that when people are not focusing on the right things, the avenue of pursuit
Yeah.
of this higher consciousness, of the 5D, of the new earth, right? Of the collective betterment. And they're mindlessly continuing to consent and hold these low vibration frequencies and thoughts and darkness and negativity. That is also rapidly manifesting.
It's
So,
indiscriminate. Like, it doesn't matter what the thought is. It's just like, "Ooh, create that, create that." There's no discrimination if it's like evil or good or whatever. It's just like, okay, you want that? Okay, let's try that.
and I think it's okay. Like I'm at this place where I'm like, I think it's still okay that we're there, like for a little longer, but there's gonna be a hard definitive point where that no longer is gonna work for humanity, where there is no more playground in the darkness. There is no like dabbling and not having discernment and just mindlessly, continuing on the continuum of the matrix. Like we are going to have to choose
I
soon.
think those things are. I think those, whatever that is, whatever thing is, those things are just going to naturally
Yeah.
sort of feel. I don't think there's going to have to be effort in like defeating the enemy or anything like that. It's just like they'll just disintegrate somehow. Like whatever is not happening or not working anymore, just there won't be nutrients for it to exist anymore. It's just there won't be the energy won't be given to those things.
But that's going to require the masses to
Yeah.
shift. That's going to require all these people to be like, oh my gosh, maybe there is something to these northern lights. Maybe there is something to the changes in our environment that are happening. Maybe it is something to the fact that everyone, even kids, are saying time is speeding up. Or
Yeah.
like just the fact that again, my 14-year-old was like, Mom, this week flew. And I'm thinking, again, I never said that when I was 14. Like, I was like, oh my God, what a long week, right? Like, it is
Yeah,
crazy.
I usually have a meeting with my team, my Infinitone team on Fridays, and every Friday we're like, it seems like yesterday, and then we hadn't had a Friday meeting for about 6 weeks, and we're like, oh, finally it is actually Friday again, like
Wow. Amazing.
we all agreed. It's like, yeah, well, this feels about right.
That is so fascinating because I mean that literally everyone's perception of time is changing. And I feel like every person that I interact with, where I may drop a breadcrumb, like, have you noticed that time is speeding up? You know, every person that you drop a little breadcrumb invites them to step into that expanded consciousness, into that awareness of like, yes, come to think of it, time does feel different for me lately, right? And then they start thinking, well, what else is feeling different? Maybe my shirts are also not fitting right anymore. Maybe I'm also not aligning with the same foods I used to be. Because I think that the more
Yeah,
people,
but yesterday was a day where I sort of, it wasn't saying like rebelling and resisting it, but also I felt like you can step into these timeless portals where time actually is slower than it ever was. So like I think that's where like the baking comes in. Like yesterday it was like being with the horses. I was just like, oh, it's the afternoon. I know I have this really complex patent to write, but I'm gonna go spend time with Xena and just go hang out with her for a little bit. And it was just like I was just like I'm gonna just like make this like malleable and like slow down. And then I'm just gonna go for the patent. I'm gonna just instead of stressing, I'm gonna have Chat GPT just assist me, and I'll put in like the main input, but then it'll structure it all out, and then I'll just, instead of paying $35,000, which is what you used to pay for a patent, I'll pay $435 for the application, and I don't have to get an investor for it. And I'll just do it, and it'll be great. And it's like it is speeding up in some ways, but I'm also realizing I can just like, phew, like just sort of like it can be more like a qigong kind of flow. It's like where I'm going like phew, with time, as opposed to it being, come on, we gotta get this enough. I mean, Alethea and I both are like, we didn't do enough in the day to day, and in some sense, and then but at the same time, like I did a summary email for this company, this like what I've been doing in the last 6 to 8 months, and I was just kind of like catching up with them. They're doing international marketing for us, and I was like, oh my god, how did I do all that?
Yeah.
Like, how did all that happen? So in some sense, there's like this feeling of like not enough time in the day, and I never, and in some sense, then I look back, I'm like, there's so much that I did. I don't know how I had time to do it all.
I'm having the exact same experience. And I love it. I love it. I mean, I was like, because of like having just had a birthday, you often think about like summarizing your year. Like, what did I do? Did I do the things that I thought I would do, right? Not that I'm not really that goal oriented. I don't get a lot of reward from achieving goals, but I do get a lot of reward from getting shit done, you know?
Yeah, of
And I
course.
just feel
Yeah.
like I'm in a perpetual flow of getting shit done. And I love that I feel this. I have to say, AI has been remarkable because there's so much more that I've been able to do that I can hand over. Meanwhile, I'm sitting on the sofa and I'm digging into all these awesome new books by the fire, with snuggling with a baby sleeping on me and a dog on the other side and fire's crackling and it's like total peace while AI just did all this work for me, and I'm like, this is
Absolutely.
amazing. Like I'm timeless in this moment. I am timeless.
Yeah.
It felt so good to have a Saturday of timelessness. And I've never had that in my life before. So there is something that has shifted. And I think that this is where all these people who are so scared, like it's the same energy as the people with TDS, the Trump derangement syndrome. It's the same frantic, fearful rage of like, fuck AI. No, I will not resist, and you're like, whoa. If you have that energy around it, that is exactly what your relationship with it will be.
Yeah.
Like, surrender and be like, hey, you know what? I can take a lot of shit off my plate and I'm going to be clever, discern how I use it, right? I'm not going to make it my best friend, but I am going to get a lot more accomplished that I can relax in other areas of my life. And I am just like loving what the future looks like
Yeah.
in the way I'm interacting with technology, But it
Yeah.
goes
Yeah.
back to like our last podcast of what are you consenting to?
Well,
What are
it's
you allowing
so,
your
it's so
energy to flow?
malleable. It's just going to start reflecting on wherever you put your attention.
Yes.
If you want your attention to be like everything's out of control, it's just the chaos and the order and it's the cruelty and all this. I mean, it's not that it doesn't exist; it does, but it's like it's just so malleable now.
Well, chi flows where the mind goes.
Yeah.
And I mean, that is literally that is what flow state is about. Chi flows where the mind goes. I mean, that's where I just feel like humanity has just lost track of that. And I don't think that in the Western world we ever had that sense of being guided by that concept. But they did in the Far East for millennia.
I think also what's interesting about like breath, like breathing or being breathed, it's also interesting play of attention with the breath because it's both automatic and it's under control at the same time. To just sort of to bring attention to the breath and see what it does and see where it can take you, or to breathe to like apply a technique and to see what that does. And I've heard people on different camps in different ways. Some with just there's a practice that I still do. I think about it's called Continuum, by this lady Emily Conrad, and she's all about just seeing where the breath, just letting it undulate and flow on its own sort of regard. And I like doing that, but I also like focusing it, and so it's like it's this play between sort of conscious direction, like conscious sharpening, and also easing into it and seeing what it does, and where it's going to take you that you couldn't have thought of. And I like this play of conscious direction and also getting feedback from the system, like, oh, I didn't know I could do that, that kind of thing.
And that's why in my mornings when I'm waking up, I'm not putting any pressure on this is what my meditation needs to look like. I literally like that morning of my birthday when I had this incredible remote viewing of Jesus Christ after the resurrection. And all I did was I close my eyes and I wake up. I sit up, I get my pillows in bed, it's dark. I chug a couple sips of water, and then I just fold my arms over my belly and I just start breathing. And I don't think about what I'm supposed to do or not do or whatever. I'm just like, let's see what unfolds. And it's so beautiful because when you allow for that, your body will tell you, like, either, no, what you need right now is a disciplined practice. And then I
Yeah.
drop into a disciplined practice. That's when sometimes I reach for my phone and I'll play your music, and that helps guide me in a little bit more of a concerted, focused breath work session. And there's other times where I'm like, I need to control my breath. I've got to release something out of my system, where then I'm doing that more like,
Yeah.
so just to activate the breathing and activate the pineal gland for that matter. And
Yeah.
other times it is like, nope, you are just dropping into the flow of the breath, and the breath is going to guide you on a journey. And that's what happened on the morning of my birthday, where I was like, oh my God. That was a life-changing experience. So,
I have a question about your remote viewings. I've never had experiences quite like that. I mean, I have regularly daily kind of interdimensional visions and experiences, but not quite remote viewing like that. And so my question about it and what your experience is, and I'm going to guess it's sort of a continuum, but like you were mentioning something when you were accounting it in your voice messages about like what is the relationship between like actually seeing what's actually there and seeing a sort of a conscious like almost what's the word, like what's there metaphorically, or like what's the relationship between imagination and actual physical reality in remote viewing, and is there a continuum of it, like, and have you been able to actually, when you do remote view, do you actually verify that you see things that are actually there physically, or is it sort of like you're getting an impressionistic of the energy matrix of it, but it might not actually be the physical stuff that's there? Like how does that, what's your experience like with that?
amazing question. Because sometimes when I've gone in, I'm like, okay, what is my imagination? And oftentimes when you think that, you're not going to access the remote viewing. Like you're not going to get the next distance because you've already energetically blocked yourself because there's a shadow of doubt.
Yeah.
And that's where, like, when, for example, when I'm working with other people and I'll get an intuitive hit on something, it's almost more of like a metaphorical experience, right? Where there's a message that comes through, and I'm not intentionally trying to remote view that person's experience or what they're going through in that moment. Something drops in and it becomes very metaphorical or allegorical or visual for that matter, or
Yeah.
even like words, tones, feelings, sensations. But
Yeah.
with remote viewing, there usually is some sort of an intention where I was breathing and I was all of a sudden like, I'm gonna ask if I can visit with Jesus after he ascended, after he was resurrected. And it was like the intention was so pure, I had zero expectation. And
Yeah.
that's a big thing, is you got to take out destination from the
Yeah.
equation. You are just fully present. And it was like, okay, I'm along for the ride. And I'm just with my breath. And it's like you have to be coherent. I mean, I talk about heart coherence a lot. And there are so many times I've not been in a heart coherent enough state to be able to access that passage into it's like squeezing into a very narrow hallway.
Yeah.
And if you aren't really coherent, you're not going to see which is the entry point.
Yeah.
So you really have to, and it's so funny that I use that analogy because I'm catheterizing my father every night now. That is so weird that that's the analogy that came up. Oh my gosh, how awkward is that?
Well,
Anyway,
it works. I mean, like
it
you said, sometimes the answer to thing comes in images, and
there you go. So sorry for that image, but yeah, that's so funny because I'm like, that was a really weird analogy for me to have used. Clearly, something I'm tuning into on the daily. Oh my gosh,
it's
that's
the
hilarious.
weirdest analogy I've ever heard
Like
for.
weirdest analogy ever. But that is kind of what it feels like. You literally like you and then like you have to trust, like you're there. You're in. Like, okay, then you disappear.
Yeah.
Like I am no longer consciously available to myself in that moment.
Yeah.
Like I am fully in that experience. Like there is nothing around me and you lock it in essentially. So then it's telepathy. So it's not even like you're watching. It's like you're there. You are in it, experiencing it. And so like when I saw Jesus, for example, and it was almost like I was following behind him in his footsteps. So he was taking me along for the journey as he's walking to Mount Sinai to meet with these elder wise sages, these monks, I suppose, but they were spiritual men who understood that he was there to impart knowledge and wisdom and and breathe. I mean, he was literally just breathing with them like they were meditating, but I wasn't in there with them. I was there watching, and all I was shown was what I needed to be shown.
Yeah.
And that's the challenge with remote viewing is because the minute your monkey mind enters, boom, you're done. You can't get back. So you don't, when you're so in it, you're not thinking to ask to go deeper. So this is where, like, oftentimes I'll be like, dang, I didn't think about that. I would, in the moment, like, you don't want to disrupt the moment because it's not like you're in a movie or you're in your own psyche or you're watching your own thoughts. It's like you're following someone else's path.
Mm.
So that's the thing, like you could remote view Epstein Island, you could remote view Mars, you could remote view the moon landing. Like there's so many things you could remote view. And if you start thinking cognitively in that moment, you lose it
Yeah.
because you have no control. You have to be able to completely let go of self, of thought, of expectation, of destination. And it was really interesting because I didn't even know that Jesus had apparently lived for 40 days after the resurrection.
Mm.
I didn't even know. And so and I've been, I do read the Bible, but I don't read it like page turner. It ain't a page turner, let me tell you. Like, it is like the hardest text to page turn. So I can go in and I've read Acts before. And that is where I asked ChatGPT, is there anywhere in the Bible that talks about Jesus having lived for any period of time after the resurrection? And yes, there is one line in Acts that says Jesus lived for 40 days. And I literally had like full body chills because that was the journey that I accessed to follow the journey and just snippets of it. So it was really wild, but I'm glad that I was able to check out enough to not think because I'm like, there's no fucking way. Like if my cognitive being was there, my ego, Hilda Elder, in that moment, I would have been like, no way is this happening. Like, come
Wow.
on, he ascended into heaven. Nope. He was right here for 40 days on this planet. So, but to answer your question, it's hard because I can't say that like it doesn't really feel that different from when you reach those moments in meditation where you just have this incredible profound presence and clarity in the moment. That is remote viewing.
Amazing. So you set an intention usually of where you want to go, and then you just surrender basically after that moment you get to the place of coherence. You set that sort of pinpointed attention
Yes.
and you surrender, and you're shown what you need to
Yes.
be shown.
And another piece that's critical is neutrality.
Yeah.
Because if you are not neutral, you will be in your own imagination.
Right.
So when I first had these experiences where I was, being contacted, um, that's where when I would try and go back and visit, and I'm like, get me back aboard on that skiff, on the air on the ship, like wherever that cool thing where I saw all those beings, I want to go back there. And because I had such an attachment to the desire to go back on that ship and be with all those extra dimensional beings, my imagination was taking me on a ride. And
Yeah.
it's almost like smoking too much weed, and like you just go through this. It's fun. I mean, it was super fun, but I'm like, okay, I'm going to let my imagination go here, but I'm fully aware that I am not communicating with those beings right now.
Right. Yeah.
I'm just going to let my
It's a
imagination.
continuum. Like there is a
Yes.
place where you can be in truth, and there's a place where it can
Yes.
sort of launch off into the mind or the imagination.
Exactly. Exactly. And but in that moment that
Yeah.
you have, it's like quantum leaping. It's when you've quantum leapt and you're like, okay, I've just had an awesome timeless experience in 5D, and now I'm very much back in 3D. But it's subtle, right? It's super subtle. But so I mean, but when you're meditating, and you've meditated a lot. You know when that meditation, when you're out of the meditation, because you're now on the grocery list
Yeah.
or on the to-do list or whatever it is. And that's why meditation and practicing meditation is so beneficial to practicing remote viewing, because when you meditate and you realize, okay, I am no longer in that state of absolute presence
Mhm.
with self, with breath, with whatever, right? Allah, Allah. And now it's like, okay, the monkey mind is taken over.
Yeah.
So, but with remote viewing, there is no monkey mind.
Yeah.
So it happens very quickly. That's the other thing. It is like, I can't even explain it. It's like it's absolutely timeless, but it also feels, as timeless as it is, it feels really fast.
Yeah.
Like wormhole, like light speed. So, I mean, when I did that session on the morning of my birthday, I mean, when I sat down to do it, it was 5:15. And when I came out of that session, I was sure it was going to be 6:15.
Yeah.
It was 5:25.
Wow.
And I was like, "What? That was that what? Like, is that even possible?" I'm like, "That no way." So that's another thing that makes, in my opinion, I mean, I don't know, other remote viewers may say the same thing or not. And I'm sure you can have extended remote viewing sessions. There are people who are really good at this stuff. Like if you have you heard of the Far Site?
No.
Check them out on YouTube. It is a remote viewing that you can actually do trainings with them and become a certified remote viewer, which is actually kind of crazy and cool that that's a thing. It drives me a little bit crazy sometimes because I think the guy, Courtney, as awesome as he is, I do feel like there's some ego because they're often like, remember, you heard it here first.
Oh, right.
Meanwhile, like I can't even get through the videos because they're so long, and they're giving their remote viewers who are really professional. They're amazing at it. Like they could work for the Pentagon. They could track down bin Laden when he was hiding in caves, kind of thing, where they could be given an access point and not know that they were given an access point and remote view it. And three different remote viewers will have had very similar visual interpretations of what they experienced. But they get so detail oriented. But most other remote viewers, from what I've experienced and listened to, it's like that.
Yeah.
The information comes so fast.
Yeah, that makes sense and resonates with similar experiences I've had, though I've never tried to remote view or had like remote viewing experiences. But in terms of the interdimensional conscious journeying kind of things, it seems, very much in alignment. I've just never had that sort of intention or even really no, I mean, some of these things, they happen just on knowing that they can happen. Like I remember my first out of body experience was like I had I used to be, because I was raised as a magician, so I used to be very skeptical about spiritual stuff. And in that time, in like the late '80s, early '90s, the magical community was just skeptics. Like
Right.
all the spiritual stuff is bullshit, da da da. And here's why. And we can, but now it's becoming coming around. There are other magicians now who are actually understanding that it's a continuum. But anyway, I was in college, my one year of college before I dropped out. There was a book. in the library, and it said it was they were getting rid of their old books, and they were like $1, and one of them was about out of body experiences. I was like, oh, what a joke! This is so dumb. So I just bought it as a joke, and I just had it with me. And I had this roommate a year or two later, and he was talking about out of body experiences, and I like just gave him this. I was like, "Oh, I have a book on that," and he took it. And I was like, he came to me the next day. He was like, "Yo, I read the book. I did it," and and then I was like, "Oh, give it to me." So I read the book, and I was like, and I just like when it is like, Andrew, I did it. So we were both like, and sometimes the initial experiences are actually easier because you don't have the expectations, and once the expectation is built in, then the mind is in the way, and it's actually becomes harder, or even years before you get back to that state again. But it's sometimes when you approach it with a childlike mind where you have no expectation, then it's a lot easier.
That's the key. And I think that's where like that's the key to making friends with your ego too, right?
Yeah.
Just release expectation because the ego is what holds the expectation. And then it's like, as far-fetched as things sound, like I didn't even know until our group text that there are other people who have talked about Jesus having visited the pyramids. And like that vision that I had, or that remote viewing where I'm following in his footsteps. And there was no question that he was in Giza and entering the king's chamber. And
Wow.
I'm like, there's no way. Like when I came out of this, I'm like, that was the wildest remote viewing ever. There's no way that happened. And so I was kind of like, well, I'm going with it because it was really cool. But what I could tell you is when you know you've accessed something,
Yeah.
as you know yourself, there is something that happens inside of you.
Yeah.
It's just like eating that's the yeast tickling
Yeah.
you when you eat that bread. There is something alive that activates within you when you're like, yes, there is resonance to this. There's something, it's not that I want to believe it, like it's that I can't help but believe it because it rings so true. It just resonates.
I've been getting information a lot lately. I mean, it's been happening for a while, but happening more and more. Where you were talking about this earlier about you get information through images or metaphors, where it's like the information is not the image or metaphor, but it's communicating a truth. And so I was again, it was yesterday or the day before. I was up and Alethea was playing music, and there were certain. I think it was Tupac, which is
Changes is a really good song.
yeah.
Like Changes, I used to love
It
it.
was like, yeah, and I and the image that came to me when Tupac was playing was basically there are two kinds of musicians, and there are musicians who have resonance on a greater level with consciousness, and there are musicians who are essentially copying, or and the image that came to me was like there's this screen, and there's like these little pinholes in it, and those who are resonating with us are on the other side of the screen, like behind the pinholes, and the light is like shining through. So the image that we're getting is these like little pinhole tastes of like vibrational light, um, but it's resonating with us because the source of it is on the other side. And the reason why the pinholes are so small, or whatever it is, just because technology and consciousness hasn't developed to the point where we can fully contain energetically, technologically, consciously the full the more high definition image. We're as a consciousness are not there yet, but the person creating it is there in that space, and their light is shining through this filter, which is you can say the 12-tone keyboard, or the whatever sort of uh, primitive, crude instruments that we have right now. And I'm adamant we're in the primitive phase of the primitive era of music. Like we're still very primitive, despite all the technology we have. And I think that, and so that, and then there's other people who will copy that, and but they're standing on the other side of the veil, on the side where the pinholes are shining too, and they see the light coming through the pinholes, and they're taking that light, and they're mixing it up and and copying it and reflecting that. But we don't we hear something is going on that makes sense to us, but we don't have that same kind of resonance. They're not stars. They're not timeless, because what they're doing is they're taking the light that's already passed through the filter without understanding the origin of it. And so and I think my duty, if I could say, my mission or my calling, is to make those pinholes bigger and bigger and bigger. So that way that when we're getting a higher definition image coming through of like the source, ultimately to remind us so clearly of the source such that the veil disappears and we're reminded of who we are, and the music comes, within us. And ourselves, and where there is no veil, there is no piercing through. We're actually in direct interface with the self. um but anyway, it was like this profound truth that came through in this very simple image. And I think that's a similar thing to what you're saying about, is like when you feel that resonance, you're not just getting the pinhole light coming through, you're actually sensing its truth, because you sense its origin. You can feel the connection to the origin and not the disconnect.
So beautifully said. So beautifully said. Yes, exactly. I couldn't. Yes. Thank you for that. It was brilliant. Well, we've got a lot of work to do, don't we? I'm like, it's so exciting because I feel like we really are on the brink of something
Yeah.
so amazing and so profoundly life altering, life enhancing. And when we get it, when we can tune into that origin, that truth, that resonance, the world is not going to be the world as we know it.
Oh yeah. And what I the where I'm at right now, and I've been talking about it with Alethea too. We used to have a saying on the mirror in the bathroom that we looked at, and we're thinking of a new one. I think that the new one that we're thinking of putting on there is, um, uh, in love with the process.
Oh, yes.
So instead of it about being about getting somewhere with a destination, just being like, wow, how amazing is it to be on the brink of, just to be present to all of these things awakening. It's like I almost know where it's going. I don't need to get there. Like, I mean, I do
We're
want to get
reverse
there,
engineering.
but it's like we're reverse engineering. But it's like, oh wait, that's already exists. But what doesn't exist is my experience of getting there and breathing this into existence. And so that's what I've been really enjoying, and enjoying right now in this podcast. Is I feel like our podcast, our conversations, is like the filters, the muck, the incoherent waveforms are sort of like melting away, and the image is becoming clearer and clearer, and not even getting to that image, but the experience of getting to that image is amazing.
That's where the awakening is.
Yeah.
Awakening is not a destination. It is the
No.
process. And
Yeah.
it's in the magic of these interactions. I know I always feel so alive. Like when we do these podcasts, I everything is gonna be buzzing for hours to come. I
It
love
started before. Like there's like this frequency that we tune into. We mentioned it every time. I was like it was like 8 o'clock, and I was like, oh, it's starting to happen.
I love it so much. Oh, thank you again. Thank you for your time. I'm so happy we could do this. It felt really important to do now.
Yeah, there was a lot of aliveness to
Yes.
share, to process, and to alchemize, and to synergize, and to expand and collaborate and experiment and collide. And
And I'm going to make bread.
you need
Thank
to.
you.
You can have an episode. I can talk about my process and how what I've discovered. I mean, it's different for everybody, but I'm definitely honing in on some very simple techniques. So
Yes. Oh, I cannot wait. Oh,
maybe the next we could do a podcast where I share my bread baking discoveries.
yes, please. I think a
I need some
lot
pictures
of
of my
people.
latest creations too.
Amazing. I love that. Oh, well, thank you. Thank you so
Thank you,
much.
Hilda.
I'll see you soon.
Goodbye.
Bye.